Are you still whining?
Yes, I'm still whining.
What are you whining
You
about?
must still be drunk or something.
What are you still whining
Is
about?
reality not hitting you
What are you still
yet?
whining about?
Because we got an hour of sleep. We have to go to Turkey today.
No, super good at Turkey today. Oh.
I want to kill you at some point. I'm going to kill you at some point. I'm going to kill you.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Tim, and we're traveling around the world from city to city.
For each city we visit, we make contact with a local, a complete stranger to us, but someone who loves their city and wants to share that with us.
We're on a mission to find out what cities mean to the people who live in them.
It's a show about
People,
cities,
traveling,
culture,
food,
day life,
music,
nightlife,
and everything in between.
This is my city.
City, that's where we belong.
Go to Serbia!
We arrived in Belgrade on about 4 hours of sleep after celebrating my birthday in Berlin. Our host Marko was nice enough to pick us up at the airport, and that dude wasted no time. As soon as we got in the car, he basically started telling us everything he knows about Belgrade.
This is like a new Belgrade side. This is new Belgrade. We are now crossing to the old part of Belgrade. It has been bombed and ruined so many times, you know. During all our history, we're ruled by Austro-Hungarian Empire for about, 1,000 years. And then they were conquered by Turks for 600 years.
It quickly became clear that Marko was obsessed with Serbian history and he wanted to tell us all about it.
After all those happenings came the First World War. We were outnumbered. Terrible battle on Kosovo field. But then came the Second World War. Then came the bombs. You see, this was like ruined by the NATO bombs 10 years ago.
The 90s under Milosevic was a really violent time, which everybody here, this generation, has lived through, experienced. I was very interested in coming to a place that has war and violence in its recent past, and I'm interested in what it does to people when you have such a violent history. We got to Marko's house, and you know, one of our rules is that we can't say no to our hosts, and it's about, I think, experiencing new things more than anything else. And he was very insistent that we stay with him.
We thought, all right, this guy's probably got a guest room for us, and it's gonna be really nice.
We didn't know, he didn't mention that he lived with his mother and his cat right in the center of Belgrade. So that was a surprise to us when he was like, oh yeah, I live with my mum, but you can stay in our living room. As soon as I saw Marko's itinerary, I thought it was going to be a legend. And he really wants to introduce us to as many people as he can, as many friends, filmmakers, artists, musicians. Putting on a really big show with his band, Ino Partners. They're having it in an old cinema called the Balkan Cinema.
Other than that, it sounds like a lot of coffee breaks.
Basically, it's Turkish coffee made on Serbian way.
Marko seems like he knows how to relax, so I don't think we'll go too hard.
Looking forward to this. And I think it's really cool that we're staying in Marko's mum's house, because it's like, we're happy to have you, we're interested in what you're about, and we're interested in showing you our life. That evening we went to Manjad, a very traditional Serbian restaurant.
Welcome you guys. Wish you a pleasant stay and to become part of Belgrade people like we are, you know.
And we met our bodyguard, Drakula. A couple of weeks before we arrived here, Marko suggested that we should have some protection, and he had a friend, Drakula, who he suggested for the role.
We definitely didn't need a bodyguard, but I was just into the idea of hanging with a dude named Drakula.
This is cevapčići. This is the basic Serbian food when you go to a restaurant.
They had a huge plate of meat, just meat rolls, and we got introduced to rakia.
This stuff is called rakia, rocket fuel.
It's really tasty actually, but it's pretty powerful. It was a great way to start the trip. And I think because everyone was so open to us and our project and what we were doing, it seemed like we were gonna have a really good week there.
We are now approaching the raft on the water, Povetarac. Now we're going to the rockabilly party that's my friend Neon King is organized.
Neon King.
Now you will meet Neon King.
I was totally excited to go there, because that was one of the things that I wanted to experience in Belgrade was river nightlife.
Well, down the corner town when you belong song. Well, down the corner town when you blue. Well, down the corner town when on Santa.
I think that's when you and I really got settled in there. We're like, all right, this is gonna be a fun trip, man. On this river raft, you were hitting on this really attractive woman. Everything was going great, you know. Marko was just getting drunk, having a great time. And life was good. Listening to rockabilly on a river raft boat in Belgrade, Serbia.
Later on that evening, we ended up in another riverboat bar. We met the whole band and we're having a couple of beers, a bit wasted. 4 hours of sleep the night before. I found out that I'd be going on live television on a talk show with Drakula, who was going to be promoting the gig that was happening the following evening. I was just like, okay, I suppose I can't say no.
Brzo mi prolaze misli da li da pričam o prvom bendu ili o projektu. Duško I Tomas, hello, welcome to Belgrade and Studio B.
We walked in there and Drakula needed a cameraman and they like gave each other a hug. We sat down, got mic'd up, and then suddenly we were on TV and I was just kind of sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I didn't really know where to look because they're talking Serbia and I'm just sitting there smiling, and eventually they get onto the subject of what we're doing.
Can you tell us something about partners in this project?
Partners. Mm-hmm. We like their music. We're really looking forward to their gig tomorrow night, and we're also looking forward to seeing their version of Belgrade.
Pa da, prava verzija Beograda, vi ste tu dobra spona kada govorimo.
Nothing is going to surprise me anymore about this trip.
That was our introduction to Belgrade. These people here are all really, really sweet. The hospitality is unbelievable. Everyone's just so giving to us, and it was a really good feeling. I went to bed with a big smile on my face that night. Saturday when we woke up, we were immediately introduced to the Marko routine.
In the morning, lot of juice with this, slowly squeezing, Belgrade style.
He's a bit of a hypochondriac, so he's got all his medicines and potions.
And a lot of organic stuff. Fresh and nice.
Nice.
I like your style.
Yeah.
When we got to Serbia, the first thing that really hit me was like all these different characters that we were meeting, and Marko was a really interesting character.
The situation?
The situation is completely out of control, but I can't be bothered because it's normal.
He's about 39, lived with his mum, hypochondriac.
Here you go, buddy. Sure. My hands are 100% clean.
I trust you.
I'm
200%.
He's a fast talker, knowledgeable, audio nerd, a musician, overly enthusiastic about everything.
Here, we eat meat in 1,000 different forms, and this is our treasure.
It was nice to be around someone who was that excited about life. And then there was Drakula.
Oh man, Drakula's badass, dude. Drakula's badass.
That's the best beer in the whole wide world.
That man loved to slug down beers. He was basically a chimney. He would just constantly have smoke coming out of his mouth.
His English was a bit bad, but he really wanted to talk, so it was, I think, probably a little bit frustrating for him. After a while, it's just like, just don't worry about it, man. It's cool.
Without three lungs like that,
Right. He was the warmest and the nicest and the most loyal individual, and he stuck with us for the whole weekend.
It turns out that he's actually quite a legend here. He was in a punk band.
Directory were one of the greatest bands in the 90s in the punk rock music. They were real rebellious guys. He spoke about the mentality of Serbs, and they had a lot of problems because of that,
So our bodyguard is a actual musical legend in Belgrade.
Basically, over the course of the weekend, a lot of what Marko had planned for our daytimes was walks around the city. He wanted to show us the city and show us what he liked about it.
This is one of the focal points of Belgrade.
Marko's style of being a tour guide was just funny as well.
This building, yellow building, is a students' cultural center. This building. King Peter I, the first school in Serbia, right? This is Lave Square. To tell you the truth, this is one of my favorite places in Belgrade because it's chaotic, and Belgrade is urban chaos.
Belgrade's aesthetic is very mixed, a lot of different influences.
Buildings get all old and fall apart, and they don't fix them. They just spend money building new things.
It's a city that's on the crossroads of Eastern and Western culture, and it's like right in the middle of a lot of trouble.
This was hit by NATO missile. You know, innocent people lost their lives, you know. For what? For what reason?
Belgrade has been conquered by 40 armies and raised from the ashes 38 times in its history. That in itself is just a crazy thing to think about. We went up to the Kalemegdan fortress, which is Belgrade's big landmark, and it's an old medieval fortress.
We are on the top of fortification, top of defense, top of the gates of the west and the entrance to the east.
One thing that struck me though about Belgrade from that vantage point is it's on this confluence of two major rivers, and none of the city is built around the rivers. A lot of other Eastern European cities have all these amazingly beautiful bridges on the river and castles built along the river and palaces and churches, and it like brings all the life to the river, and the city has its life away from the river.
This is the best use of tanks. Kids to play around. I used to play when I was a kid, you know, here. Not to be used for killing people, but just like relics from the past times. And now we're gonna take a walk to the hood of Dorchol. You will love it.
For some food.
Yeah, we have a restaurant there waiting for us. Golden Jar. Zlatno Pokal.
We went to the Bohemian district, to this really freaking cozy restaurant, and we had ourselves some more meat. Thomas had this ridiculous meat dildo, essentially. Deep fried meat dildo is what you ate. We went back to Marko's house. He had to prepare for the big concert they were doing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
They were playing on a stage with a huge screen behind them, and they were supposed to project video. And they spent weeks and weeks and weeks editing video, tuned up exactly to how the songs play live.
We're on the way to the gig, a very important gig. We're at least an hour and 15 minutes behind already.
They had a series of technical problems.
The computer didn't make any rendering time, so we have to bring the whole stuff down, you know. Because MPG2 compression takes too much time to...
This is what we do, you know? Bring the CPU down to the gig.
Transport that.
Transport that, you know?
So when we got to the venue, he tried to plug his computer into the projector.
They couldn't get that to work. First it was out of focus, then it didn't recognize the resolution. And he put an awful lot of work into it, and then it didn't work in the end. Felt a bit bad for him.
So everything is running late as usual?
20 minutes late?
Not 20, 1 hour late.
1 hour.
Thomas, these are my parents. For the first time I'm watching my show.
How's it going, people?
Good, good. We are almost there.
We also got to see Marko's stage presence. He loves to put on a good show, and he has a lot of energy. They're good live. They have good sense of music. They had a lot of different styles.
Marko was understandably exhausted, so we said our farewells and he headed home.
Nice.
After the gig, we went to Casa Garcia with Marin, who is Marko's younger brother, and Lara, who is his girlfriend, who's Serbian French and very beautiful.
Lara was completely stunning in the facial region. She really had quite a beautiful face.
She was messing about kidnapping us and taking us on a road trip.
Let's go to Tajikistan by car right now.
Right now?
Yeah? Would you say yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
As long as we can be...
What would your boyfriend say about that?
Oh, he wouldn't be happy, but...
It was a bit awkward because she was just openly flirting with both of us. She's trouble. She's French trouble, the best kind of trouble.
Anyway, Marin and Lara were both great fun to hang out with, and after Casa Garcia they took us to an underground cave club called Underground. Hey, we're going into the caves, man. We're going into the fucking caves.
What time is it?
It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
I remember Marko saying it's filled with techno kids, man. You don't want to go there. And I don't know, hearing techno kids, I'm like, man, I could be a techno kid, right? I like that kind of music. Who knows? You know, what's a techno kid? And so we went there and instantly found out what a techno kid was. All it was intense beats, like and laser lights and discos and people just all f***ed up. And we had Drakula with us, who is kind of the grandfather of the punk rock scene in Serbia, and he's at this techno club.
And he was just quietly kind of being loyal to us. It was an interesting place. It was kind of worth going to just to see. And Marion, he was just very excited to be with us and drinking, and myself and him were just drinking beers, and he was like, let's go find another beer.
We're going to serious food. We're at my place, which is very near.
So we went for a final snack and did indeed see the dawn.
Hang on a second. This is a very spontaneous show. We cannot be worrying about things like sleeping. That should be the last of our concerns.
Sunday we had to wake up and get our act together to be on the radio. Along with the TV gig, he got us a radio gig. They also got us in the local newspapers there.
So after the radio interview, we did another walking tour around the city. Marko was basically an unstoppable tour guide.
This is a hotel, one hotel, the second hotel. It's from the movie Šmeker, the oldest market on Balkan. This is a Russian cultural center. 1,150 hospital, the National Library, railroad station, bus station. This is called Balkanska Street. I want to tell you something about this church. Story about the bridge. Parking lot built in the 80s. Those two statues. Now we'll come upstairs and come into...
When you're doing it for 3 days, I just remember you and me both going, right, yes, okay, all right, oh, interesting, oh, great.
The city center is 5 minutes from here.
Right.
They usually go on this street.
Right.
This is stones put like here.
Right, right.
And also, Zeleni Venac Market. On your left side, sir.
What about this here?
I mean, this is like a new building next to the old one. I don't know.
You know, seeing the city was great, but ever since the first night, the river was really beckoning for me.
People who come to river are in some way different from the other people in Belgrade. So they have some kind of different attitude about life.
There's obviously another side to this city that is based around the river and the people who live there, and I felt like we were missing out on it, so I really was trying to get out onto the river. But we were staying at Marko's place, and he had all these plans for us.
We are now going to a place of our friend Mono Putnik.
We talked a bit to Marko that day about getting music for our show, and he started raving about this guy, Mono Putnik, which means lone traveler.
He's like, we're just going to go to his house, have a listening session, you guys can take whatever you want. We're like, oh man, jackpot.
We went out to the suburbs, and it was kind of a spooky evening. We went into his house, and he was a really nice but really shy individual.
He had this huge monster computer with like cooling pipes in it. He had a parrot. It didn't take long before I felt extremely uncomfortable.
I want to show a couple of videos that he did, you know, like some are in progress and some are finished, you know, like...
Got weirder and weirder then, because he started showing us his work. After a while, it was like, yeah, I want to go talk to the parrot.
Anything you'd like to say?
One of the questions that raised is, are these guys Serbian or are they just nerdy? Is it the generation? Is it the group of people that we're with? As we went into the evening on the last night, I was still very much like, let's make it happen. Let's get to the river. We've got to do it. We're leaving tomorrow, but we can do it somehow. Marin and Lara were there the final night. And
we were talking to Marin, and he told us about one of his favorite places in Belgrade, a place called Gypsy Island.
And we said, well, we're gonna have to go there. Let's go there. So of course, we stayed up all night.
You don't have to worry about that.
You don't have to worry about that.
No, don't worry about it.
You can do that in your sleep.
Got 1 hour sleep and went there at 8 in the morning.
We're going to a forbidden place. It's called Gypsy Island. It's going to be an adventure of our lifetimes.
This is really good.
It's good, you like it?
It's an artificial lake they created where they siphoned off a part of the river and made a lake. We rented bikes and it was very nice and kind of lazy, cruising along by the lake in the morning. We saw some really interesting things there, some old like Balkan communist architecture and water towers.
It was a nice autumn morning and there was no one around. And there was just something really peaceful about being there.
This is the best thing to do off 1 hour of sleep.
Kind of let us reflect on the trip a little bit, and the people that we're with and things we saw. I think the biggest impression that Belgrade left on me was the hospitality. I've just never been around people that have been so giving and warm and welcoming to complete strangers.
When people open their doors to you like that, people you don't even know, quite an amazing experience.
It's good? Yeah, it's excellent.
Every time we do this show, we get one version of a place.
I think we got a very interesting version, but we certainly got a specific version and a specific generation with their own concerns.
What happens is when there's such rough history in an area, that what people do to preserve themselves is they keep to themselves.
My favorite place is my home, is this room.
Marko openly admitted he felt like Serbia had often been abandoned by various different occupying powers, and sometimes they had alliances, and then those alliances would break down, and then the people they were allied with would become their enemies. When you're abandoned that many times and have that much turmoil, you sort of stop caring about your fellow citizens and you start just surviving and caring about yourself. Where it's then very hard to get things done, and it's very hard to trust anybody because you don't trust your government and you don't trust community and you don't trust organizations.
The important thing is that we all gotta unite on our heraldic symbol. There's like a cross with a 4S, so it's Samo sloga Srbina spasava, only unity saves the Serbs. You cannot describe why you like Belgrade. Sometimes you got so pissed on the city, and everything. And the other day you're so in love with it. It's strong, intense fluctuation of emotions. It's like amplitude, like a sine wave.